Okay, I think we're ready to start. I've got 5 o'clock. Eddie, what time do you have? 5 on the dot, right? Okay, it's good to see everybody here. We'll ask you to stand for our Lord's Prayer to start, and then a pledge of allegiance. All together, Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory forever. Amen. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call.
Commissioner Hughes,
Here.
Commissioner Mosier,
Here.
Commissioner Richardson,
Here.
Commissioner Jinks, here, Commissioner Stutz.
Here.
Okay, all present. We've had a chance to look over the minutes for the last meeting of March 24th, 2025, and the meeting of March 3rd, 2025, both the meeting and the workshop. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any questions or additions? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries. All right. We're going to do something special here to somebody. I think they've got an idea what's going to happen. I saw some smiles a while ago. Let me walk out here in front. We have elected our new city recorder. And Sonia, would you step over here, please? I don't think you know about this. We have got your certificate. You passed? You
Yay!
passed? So, we want to present this to you that Sonia Crush has passed State of Tennessee Municipal Clerk and Recorder. You did great, and I know you'll do Sweetwater well. This was on Monday, March 31st, 2025. Y'all want to there you go, hang it on the wall properly.
I think they're gonna want to take a picture. Yeah, take a picture.
Thank you, Sonia. How long you been with the city all total?
18, I started in 2006, December 2006.
So you're good for another 20 years, aren't you? Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. The recorder now has a report for the distributions for February.
Okay, on page 1, the Blue Cross payment, of course, that's our dental and vision. It's $4,995.57. Underneath that, TCRS, that's the retirement for the employee and employer portion, $34,767.07. Further down the page, Axon Enterprise, that is a contract that we have with them for our body cams and tasers. We get new body cams and tasers every 3 years, and this also includes the cloud storage and the licensing fees that are associated with that. Underneath that, Boys and Girls Club of the Ocoee region, we have a budget appropriation for them every year for $5,000. That's what that is. CHLIC, that's our health insurance employee and employer portion, $58,849.19. On page 2, top of the page, Isaiah 117 house, $1,000, that's a budget appropriation for that charity. Main Street Studio Architects, $3,500. That's for design services for the LPRF grant, for the pool. Down below that, Monroe County Emergency Communications, $20,675. That's a quarterly 911 payment to them. Down below that, Monroe County Senior Citizens and Friends, $1,000. That's another budget appropriation. Down the page, Pyro Show, $7,087.50. That's a deposit on our fireworks show. I believe that's 50% of the cost of the fireworks. Down towards the bottom of the page, Sweetwater Board of Ed, that's $250,000 of their annual appropriation. And the last thing on that page, Tennessee Fire Equipment, $43,519. That's things that have been purchased through the FEMA grant. And Jessica, help me out. That's 100% reimbursed, or do we have a match on that?
I think there's a 5% match
Okay.
on that FEMA grant.
Middle of page 3, Westview Cemetery of Sweetwater, $5,000. That's a budget appropriation that you all have put in to help them upkeep that cemetery. Down towards the bottom of that page, the gas billing, that is fuel purchases that were made in January, and it does include the school, which they reimburse us for that, $11,334.57. On page 4, Judy's ELDT, $4,000. That is CDL classes for 2 employees from the street department. Star Mountain Outfitters, $3,960. That's boots for the police department. Down towards the bottom of the page, Tommy Reynolds, $1,074. That's a property tax refund for an overpayment on his property taxes. Page 5, down towards the middle of the page, Sweetwater Utilities Board, $37,087.09. That's our utility bill for the entire month for all the buildings, street lights, all that. That's all in general fund. In State Street Aid, there's a couple of things I wanted to point out. Cannon and Cannon, $18,900. That is engineering fees for the TAP and multimodal projects. And Monroe County Highway Department right underneath that, $4,320. That's for salt. And then there's another, down at the bottom of that page, there's another Cannon and Cannon check for $5,906.25. That's the engineering fees on Hawkins and Linwood and part of the TAP grant. Nothing significant in drug fund. Tourism, there's a check to Haley Isbell for $293.40. That is travel expense for the state tourism conference that she attended. Nothing, well, library, Tina's here if anybody has any questions for her. Solid waste fund, the garbage contract, the monthly payment was $25,641.08. And that's all I have.
I have a question on the waste management.
Yes.
Did we just decide to do anything on that yet?
So that contract came up for renewal April 1st. We would have had to give them a 190-day notice, I think. We did decide to stay with them. The competitor would have had to hire both personnel and add equipment, and that made us a little nervous to change services when they were going to be essentially starting brand new people and having to purchase new equipment. So we stayed with WCI.
And is this a yearly contract?
No, it's 5-year term before we can change away from them again. So we're with them for 5 years. And again, if somebody else can be competitive, we might consider them. But I will say, since the new manager took over, we've had much better service from them. So they seem to be taking care of the problems. You can still tell every time they get a new driver, we have missed garbage as soon as they get a new driver. But I do think the service level is better now than what it had been a year ago.
Was the other factor that we were looking at is this particular company actually owns the landfill?
Landfill.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got a question. Did the guys pass the CDL test, both of them?
Yet, right? They go.
They went now.
Okay. Yeah.
if they fail, do we have to pay that $4,000 again?
I think they've already
They
taken the
passed
class.
that
Part of
part.
the biggest part of that is when the state changed the legislation last year. That class is what costs so much. So they only pay to retest.
Is
Okay.
this new hires?
They've been here roughly 2 years, close to 2 years.
And they're just now getting around taking CDL tests?
We've been trying ever since they got here.
Okay. Do I hear a
It's not required, by the way. It is not required for them to have a CDL in the street department. So this was just,
you mean
additional training.
not even for mowers and
It is required that we have a certain number of people, but these people in this position are not driving the dump truck, so they're not required to have a CDL. But we do want to have multiple people that have a CDL.
All right, you've heard the distributions. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carries. Our auditors are here tonight. We are glad to have Richard Hill and from Mitchell, Emmerich, and Hill. He is going to present the audit for the year ending June 30th, 2024. So Richard, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, just like in years past, we'll do this at a pretty high level unless you have specific questions. So we completed the audit, the early part of this year, issued our report in February. We filed it with the Comptroller's Office, the opinion is a clean opinion, an unmodified audit opinion, which is the highest level report that an auditor can issue as a result of our work. So, just a reminder and maybe a refresher for folks. So the city's audit includes not only the funds that Jessica's office oversees, but the school funds. It also includes the utility audits, which are done by another CPA firm. So we get their report and wind it into this 200-page document. But just focusing on the city funds, total assets at June 30, 24 were a little over $27.5 million. Fund balances on that date was $23,497,000. Again, bearing in mind that's city funds and school funds. And then for the year, total revenues were a little over $31 million, and expenditures are about $27 million. So that means the difference in those two numbers for all funds combined were $3,602,491. So that's how much more revenue you had than expenditures, and that's a lot of that's in the school funds, just the model that they're funded on. The one other thing I wanted to mention as part of the audit, we, in addition to the routine money that you see coming and go, we got a lot of state and federal financial assistance grants, similar to what y'all discussed earlier. And for the year ending June 30, 24, that totals $6.8 million. So that's state and federal grant funds over and above state shared revenue and sales tax and all that kind of thing. Again, a lot of that going to the school department. In addition to auditing the financial statements, we look at internal controls and compliance with laws and regulations, and we don't have anything that we include as a finding as this bound report. So that's about it at a high level. I haven't been answering questions from the board.
Any comments? No findings. Is that what you said earlier?
Nothing in this report that will rise to the level of material instance of noncompliance or significant deficiency in control. And that we're done at either one.
Thank you, Richard. And you all can leave. I know you got to go back to the hospital, so feel free to go.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, sir. We have no one registered to make public comment. No one registered to make public comment tonight. In our public hearing, we have two items. First one is a resolution to annex 2.49 acres on Edward Drive at the related plan of service. We talked about this in the workshop a couple of weeks ago at length. Is anyone present to make a comment on this annexation request by the owner and recommendation by the Planning Commission? John, you have anything you want to add to this?
Nothing to add other than what we discussed in the planning commission and in the workshop. It's right there off Edgewood, roughly 2.5 acres. Owners are here. They've already talked to the utility board about extending sewer to those
Okay. Next, is anyone present to make comment on ordinance number 1047 to amend Title 8 regarding alcohol beverages to have a square footage requirement for the downtown district? We talked about this in length too. The public hearing is now closed. In old business, we have second and final reading on ordinance number 1047. Is there a motion and a second? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion for approval of ordinance 1047 as discussed and approved by Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion's made and second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hughes,
Aye.
Commissioner Mosier,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jinks,
No.
Commissioner Stutz.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. In new business, we have the resolution to annex off Inglewood Drive. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
I make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second that.
All right. Is this a roll call or let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Hughes,
Aye.
Commissioner Mosier,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jinks,
Aye.
Commissioner Stutz.
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. We have the resolution to continue our adventure tourism district. This process requires a new resolution every 3 years. Is there a motion for the approval of this resolution?
Make a motion for approval of the tourism district.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion? Any questions? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. We have a resolution for the capital improvement plan. We can move forward with its approval, or we can discuss it in the April workshop with the budget discussion. If you'd rather postpone that, what does the board, how you feel about this? Want to wait till April in the workshop to go over this?
Has everybody had a chance to review it? I mean, I have.
Yeah.
I'm fine with proceeding.
The one thing y'all asked in the workshop was about the allocation for the fire truck, kind of spreading that over multiple years, and that's been included in the newest draft that's in that workshop, so that's included in this resolution.
So that's the only change in it.
Yes.
So if we approve it tonight, that would be first.
First reading.
There's only one reading on the capital improvement plan, cause it's just a resolution.
Gotcha.
So this is the only time you're voting on it, and it does not have a deadline that it has to be passed by other than the end of the fiscal year, so if you wanna wait and approve it the same time you do first reading on the budget, you can. If you're ready to approve it tonight, you can do it tonight. However, it doesn't really make a difference either way.
Okay.
Fine with it.
Let her rip.
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution for capital improvement plan for 2026 through 2030.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. We have talked about the new legislation proposed that will cap hotel motel tax. John Cleveland has drafted an ordinance to go ahead and increase our tax from 2.25 to 4% prior to the passage of this legislation. We talked about this in the workshop, and I think we all agreed on this. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1048 to amend the privilege tax.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion, any questions?
Well, John's or his ordinance says that it's a bill pending in the General Assembly. So if the bill fails, do we need to come back and revoke this ordinance? Who's
I
gonna
mean,
keep
that
up
would be
with
up to
that?
you. What you're voting on tonight is, are you increasing it to 4%?
Yeah.
Because if this legislation passes, they're gonna make it effective, apparently May 1st is what our East Tennessee Tourism Director sent to us, instead of July 1st. So when we originally talked about this, we thought it would be passed July 1st. This will actually pass and be effective May 1st. So after May 1st, you could no longer increase it past a total cap of 8%. Since the county's at 5, that would mean we could never increase it more than 3. So what we're saying in this ordinance is it would be at 4. And we will have to pass it on second and final reading in the April workshop as a called meeting in order to be before that May 1st deadline.
Before May. All right. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Mosier,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jinks,
No.
Commissioner Studs.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Our fire chief, insurance carrier, and city attorney are all recommending a formal interlocal agreement for fire and rescue when assisting other agencies outside the city limits. John, you want to elaborate on this a little bit? Come up here so we can hear you. Or
The city had some stuff in place, but some questions got raised, and Alan and I looked through it all, and there were some gaps that needed to be filled. And some of the stuff was on paper, but it wasn't done correctly, and this sort of fills the gaps. There is a little bit of it that's changed. We're gonna go into sort of an agreement where if we have any immediate life-threatening situations, we will step outside the city to address those. There'll be very strict guidelines on how we do it. There'll be SOP changes. It's got to be done perfectly. And Alan and I discussed it. I've discussed it with all my officers, and this is what we have to do to get that process started. Anybody got any questions?
give us an idea of when you would respond outside the city limits.
Let's say if there was a house fire and somebody was trapped in the house and couldn't get out. It takes 15-20 minutes for a volunteer department to get there. We would be immediately dispatched. We would jump out, do what we can. We're not designed for fighting fires and doing that kind of stuff outside the city. We'll do what we can, and then as soon as they get there, we would turn it over and come right back to the city. It's not the whole department. We're talking 2 guys in 1 truck. If there is a car wreck that there's somebody pinned in and needs to get them out right then, we would be dispatched to that. Or if a car's on fire and there's somebody trapped in it. It's where somebody's life depends on it, period. And it's all west of Sands Road. So anything Sands Road this direction that falls in Christiansburg, North Monroe, or Tri-Communities District, we would jump out, and the whole thing is the initial response. We can get 2 men in a truck there anywhere in those areas in 5 minutes or less, 7 minutes or less. And that's the time frame you need to be in to try to save somebody's life. And it takes volunteer departments much longer than that. There are businesses listed there. That's always been on paper. I don't think it's ever been done correctly. Those are businesses or churches that affect our city. We've got, people work there or go to church there, or, loss of revenue to the city. If it burns down, we'll jump out and try to knock stuff down as quick as we can. Till the volunteer departments get there, and as soon as they get there, we turn around and come back home.
Okay. Any questions?
I thought you did a really nice job.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the mayor to execute this interlocal agreement?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. Finally, we have discussed the emergency messaging system several times. Jessica has some information on that. Jessica, you want to go over that with us?
Okay, so we still have 1 year left on our HyperReach contract that starts July 1st. The question is, we can go to the unlimited package that they've proposed, which is what we did for the current year and paid the difference, at $5,500, or we can stay at the lower package that we've been on for several years for $2,500, finish out this year, and then leave HyperReach. I've done demos with 4 or 5 different companies. The one that stood out to me was TextMyGov. I put that proposal in your packet. The reason I think it's different from the other ones, they're all about the same price range. It's all about $5,500 for the unlimited package, to send as many messages as you need to. The thing about TextMyGov that's different is that the citizens can also text in to us. So this would not be used for emergencies. They still need to call 911 for that. But if they, if there's a dog that's been running around the neighborhood, they can actually text in a picture of that dog running loose. Or issues with overgrown grass. They can use it for codes enforcement. They can also use it if there's a stop sign down or a pothole that they want worked on. The good thing about it is it automatically includes some cloud storage to where all of those photos that they're sending in are documented, they're time stamped, and we have them in the cloud if we ever have an issue with it or need to document when or how we were reported. I thought that was an amenity that none of the other ones seem to have. So I guess my proposal is go ahead and start TextMyGov now. Let us go ahead and sign the agreement, begin working with them, get familiar with them. I don't think that we would launch the citizens texting in all at once right away. I think we need to figure out what kind of phone number we're going to use for that, what department's going to man that, how are we going to actually functionally do that. But he agreed to waive the setup fee and he lowered the price to $5,500 a year because normally their package is $6,500 for unlimited. And if we signed in April. So that's my proposal is I would go ahead and keep them both simultaneously, and that is actually what's included in your draft of the budget that starts July 1st. They won't bill us until July 1st, but they'll go ahead and let us get our feet wet and kind of set up things, and so we're ready to go live July 1st with the new one. We will still technically have HyperReach for 1 year last year, so if something went wrong with TextMyGov or it wasn't operating the way we needed it to, we have a fallback with HyperReach, but I don't think we should pay for the unlimited plan because we probably will not be using it like we would TextMyGov. So that's what I'm proposing. We don't have to vote on it tonight. His pricing is only guaranteed through April 10th, but we have more time. I'm sure if we went back and said we want to talk about this again before we make a decision, we could. To me, I would feel more comfortable having them both going at the same time this first year just to see how it goes, to make sure that we're able to get everything out that we need to get. But I do like that they will allow the citizens to text back in to us and say, I'm having this problem, and actually the initial response is like a stock response. If they say something about something outside of the city limits, they'll get back a response, this is who you should be calling. I would say right now, probably close to 50% of the calls that we get at City Hall are for people outside the city limits. Like they've moved here, they don't know what services they have or don't have, so hopefully this will kind of help with that volume a little bit too, but we'll wait and see. It may not be perfectly ideal right off the bat, so this will give us a little bit of time to work out all the bugs before we're solely reliant on just them.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? Want to vote on it tonight, or?
Have you heard anything more from HyperReach? Sorry.
I have a call with HyperReach later this week, but they have not managed to alleviate my concerns yet, which is the last 2 times we've sent out messages, it's been after the emergency's over that the call's finished going through. So I've got
Is
I've got some issues with
TextMyGov,
that.
are they a lot more technical?
Of course, they say that they're better, and that's not going to happen with them.
How long would it take to instigate this? I mean, we're getting in the middle of the storm season right now. Could they put this in effect in the next?
He said it would go live as soon as they did their technology side, so it would be before July 1st. But in the meantime, we still have HyperReach. We're not ever going to go uncovered. We still have the ability to send out the emergency messages. The weather alerts are automatically generated. Those will continue to be automatically generated with both of them. And they also can transfer our database from HyperReach. So anybody that was signed up on HyperReach, we've already got that database stored to where they will automatically be signed up on TextMyGov. We'll pull out the numbers that don't work anymore, but everybody that's live on it now, there won't be a new sign-up process for them. We'll just be able to roll their information in. That was the first question I asked.
Okay, do I hear a motion for authorization agreement with TextMyGov?
I'll make that motion, that we use both for a year.
Okay,
Second.
motion made and second. Any more discussion?
I just wanted to double check again to make sure I understood. So, HyperReach, the payment that's been made and then picking up another. Can you go over that one more time?
So we have paid for this year. You know, they were telling us back in the fall, the issue was we'd gone over what our contract amount was, and we'd actually gone over our contract amount for 3 years in a row, and we owed them X amount of money. We have paid that. We've got in writing back from them that we owe them nothing, that there's nothing from previous years that we should have, there's nothing from current years that we have. We are clean and even with them. All of these companies are 3-year agreements, all of them, including this one. So that 3-year agreement with HyperReach doesn't end for another year. So we will still pay them the minimum payment next year, plus the amount that we're going to pay for TextMyGov. We will have both of them at the same time for 1 year. And then I'm assuming if TextMyGov is what we want it to be, we would drop HyperReach and only use TextMyGov.
Okay. And what's the difference? Is that 2,500 or 5,500?
TextMyGov is $5,500 a year every year, and that's locked in for 3 years. After the 3 years, they could go up.
But the remaining amount that we owe HyperReach is what?
Starting July 1st, this coming July 1st, we will owe them $2,500
Okay.
for that coming year.
Okay.
That's not for unlimited.
Correct. That is the lower tier amount that only has a certain number of calls.
Right.
But that's covered in our budget as we move forward.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. Okay, we're gonna adjourn now in our city council meeting. Before we do, tell us what's going on this weekend. Jessica, give us a rundown on the Founders Day and what all's gonna be taking place.
So Founders Day is Saturday. It looks like the weather's going to cooperate. Representative Lowell Russell will be here to present a resolution to the city to celebrate our 150 years, and also the mural that is on Miller Street for the 150th design that the high school students picked out. That will be completed this week, hopefully, and we'll dedicate it on Saturday. So if you all can come at 11:30 down on Miller Street, we're going to have a short ceremony. The members of the 150th committee will all be there. The artist will be there. We'll have a student introducing him. Brent Miller is dressing up as IT Lenore, our founder, and he will be there and give a little story about IT Lenore. And I hear his lovely bride is maybe serving on the city council also, and she will be there in costume, being Commissioner Jinks will be Mrs. Lenore. So we've got lots of activities. We've got historic walking tours. If y'all look through downtown right now at the museum, at the post office, different places in town, you'll see a sign that says historic walking tour. Those are different spots that we've kind of gathered some history. Larry Anderson and Betsy and Larry Rodders and Anita Fioravanti have been doing a lot of research on those things, and they've put together a walking tour, which is basically the same one we've had in our visitor's guide for years, but they're actually going to be in period costume leading groups of people through those different locations in downtown. So we're excited about that. There's a fashion show from 2 to 4 that Brenda Bryan and Salt and Light Studios have put together, and they'll do fashion through the decades, and some of the outfits are things that people bought at the Lily Pad 40 years ago that they still have that they'll be wearing in the fashion show. We'll have the antique fire truck downtown inside the community center building, and our 150th parade float. He said maybe. And the 150th parade float is going to be on display, which was put together by Brittany Jinks and the Jinks family. So thanks, Jinks Concrete, for sponsoring that. We got a lot going on. It'll be fun.
Okay.
It'll be a good day.
So everybody
Starts
meet
at
at
11:30 if y'all can be
11:30 at
there.
Miller Street. That's the kickoff.
Yeah, right
Okay.
across from Regions Bank where that new mural's being painted.
Anything else come before the board? If not, we are adjourned. We will reconvene as the Sweetwater Beer Board. First, we have an application for the liquor store we recently approved in Plaza 68. Chief Byron, do you have a report?
Everything is well on it as far as the requirements are. Just want to bring to your attention that it is an on and off premises at it, and that's the only different thing for it. It's for an on premises for a tasting that they're going to be having, and therefore, whenever we get into this situation about being a liquor store, you know, ABC will be the one doing the majority of the govern on it. But our coach department, we've done the inspection on it. We've done background checks and everything, so everything meets our requirements for it.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. Next, we have an application for China East. Chief, do you have a report?
Yes, it'll be on premises only, and as everybody knows where China East is at one time they did have, not these folks, but at one time there was a previous, permit for that building. It meets the requirements as well.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion does carry. Thank you very much for being here. We will see you at the workshop in, 3 weeks from 4 weeks. So have a great week. Don't forget over the weekend, and we are adjourned.
We are adjourned.